Proportional Response. Book 1. Chapter 6, Part 5. Or Don't. Rolvan stood with his hand to his chest and looked out over the flag bridge at the assembled humans, all saluting him. They dropped their salutes together, and a cheer went up both from the bridge and over speakers. Apparently someone had managed to have the presence of mind to pipe his statement through to the rest of the human fleet. The Admiral turned to him, gave a smart salute, grinned like a mischievous schoolboy, then turned hard eyes on his crew. The calm, professional demeanor of veteran soldiers fell upon the bridge in an instant as men and women returned to their seats. Rolvan turned to his second. She canted her eyes at him in frustration, then turned her lips down in respect, saluted, and left. Hardin turned to him and looked about to speak when a voice called out from the pit. "Admiral, communication coming in from the Everest. Captain Tagomi wishes to speak to you immediately. Put him through to my console." Everest? That is where we sent Commander Gozar. He couldn't have... A human face appeared in the air before the Admiral.
"Sir, is Rear Admiral Rolvan still with you? I need him to talk to his commander over here. The man is trying to insist that he be allowed to face death with his human sky brethren. I do not wish to order him off my ship, so I was hoping that the Rear Admiral could speak to him."
Rolvan turned his chair to face his newfound brother-in-arms. The man locked eyes with him for a brief moment. 1,000 words exchanged in that glance, but none had to be voiced. He turned his chair back to face the display as the Admiral spoke.
"Let him stay, Captain. No, don't even start. You heard our friend's speech, and Rolvan is saying as well. His people are going to observe the battle from afar, but these crazy frogs have decided that they wish to face death with us, and I am not about to deny them the right. Is that understood?"
The captain's image nodded.
"Yes, sir."
And he cut the feed. Hardin turned his head.
"You people are crazy, but you're my kind of crazy. Glad to have you aboard. I'm going to write some recommendations out before the battle and make sure they are sent to Fleet Command in case we don't make it."
Rolvan nodded to the Admiral, drew a deep breath, and settled into his chair. Now came the hardest part of battle. The wait.
"All ships, fire primary batteries in fire."
Rolvan had to admire the steady calm with which these humans faced death. Even though these opening maneuvers of the battle had changed his belief about the outcome of the battle. To be sure, he still expected for himself and every person on a human ship to die. However, he now expected the humans to inflict enough losses in the process to force the Xultans to withdraw, and for the humans to be able to use the recordings of the battle being made by his men as leverage to force the Xultans to back off this place. Sultan supremacy was based largely on the belief that they were indomitably supreme. If humans could, provably, so much as go eye for an eye with the Xultans, it would put a crack in that armor. And the Xultans would not want that. He took a moment to study his human counterpart. The man sat composed, even contemplative, quietly taking in the information available to him. He nodded to himself, and his esteem for the man grew another notch. Seeing that he would not be interrupting anything vital, he leaned over and spoke in tones that wouldn't carry.
"A good leader knows when to give orders. A great leader knows when not to."
Aaron looked over to him and flashed a brief smile.
"I will take that as a compliment, thank you. You can give up on your death wish, though. I don't intend to let this flagship fall. The casualties on this fight are going to be steep, yes. We don't have the ability to match them on a level playing field in space unless we have them outnumbered."
The human then flashed him a grin that sent a touch of fear down his spine.
"However, I will let you in on another piece of human military doctrine. Only a fool fights on a level playing field if he can avoid it. And, my friend, we have had a lot of time to prepare this playing field."
Rolvan nodded.
"I was just contemplating that first volley of fire you just sent out. Simple ballistic projectiles, I assume? Hard to see, even harder to track, and they're going to reach the minimum safe distance to come out of FTL just before the Elton fleet comes down to sublight. I now understand why you took the extraordinary step of setting up those listening buoys throughout the system."
The Admiral nodded, checked a display, and turned to face the pit.
"Begin countdown for the next volley of fire. Set up 3 more as quickly as they can be coordinated, and have the fighter pilots begin their final checks."
Rolvan suppressed a question as the Admiral turned back to him.
"Not as extraordinary as you might think. Some of our science folks managed to take a next step, yours haven't. We found a way to do low power cost quantum entanglement communications. The entanglement is a little fragile. It doesn't last more than about 2 months, but we can make more on the ship.
The countdown finished, and the ship rocked slightly, as Rovlan felt his eyes involuntarily go wide.
That means those fighter craft you have in the bay, they are unmanned, with pilots communicating to them by key signal.
The human nodded, and Rovlan felt panic well from his toes. He leaned in to speak in hushed, urgent tone.
You must recall, you fleet. Prepare to jump out of here. How could you not know? The Exaltans have quantum scramblers. They will...
The human's smile got larger, instead of smaller, and his eyes took on a strange cast, which caught him off guard. The ship shook as another volley fired. Then, the human answered.
Oh, we know they do. Not to worry, my friend, trust me. This battle may go badly, but I promise you we will give as good as we get.
The Admiral turned his attention back to the pit as the deck plates, again, shivered beneath their feet.
Tactical. That was the final volley? Yes, sir. Good. Tell all carriers to open the bay doors away from the enemy, launch, roll, and launch again. I want each carrier to have a full flight in space, but to keep them hidden in their sensor shadow until T-1 minute. Aye, sir.
Rovlan sat back and listened as the order was relayed, and a dozen voices started fine-tuning the directions for various ships. He let one eye rove around the flag bridge, but kept the other focused on the clock. Thankfully, most sapients shared 10-digit appendages, which also gave most of them base 10 numbering systems, which in turn made it much easier for his translator overlay to interpret their numbers. As the counter neared 0, and the slow-moving lines which represented the first volley of fire from the fleet and the enemy force began to converge, activity on the bridge took on a muted tone. Everyone seemed to speak in hushed whispers, move with extra care, and eyes kept flitting up to the display. Finally, the Admiral unbuckled himself from his chair and stood.
Comms. Give me a widespread tachyon channel. Channel open to approaching Sultan fleet. This is the human fleet gathered in defense of Vintus. We have acquired you on our sensors and demand you come no further. Drop out of FTL and state your intentions. Sir, incoming tight beam tachyon transmission from the Sultan fleet. Put the entire conversation on the broadband channel and bring up the transmission on the main display. Only let them see me.
Rovlan expected the central display to switch from the tactical display to the transmission, but it didn't. The tactical display faded somewhat, and the large head of an obviously angry Sultan appeared within it. Both images floated, somewhat translucent, one atop another. The Sultan spoke.
Humans, I am Overlord, Supreme Leader Tilian Sana, Primarch of the Sana clan, holder of the Spheres of Cylonal, and 4th degree Master Tactician. Your presence in this system is a direct violation of Council orders and could be construed as an act of war. By order of the League Council, you will vacate this system immediately. We have you on our sensors, and you know well that your fleet is no match for us. Do not throw away your lives in a pointless defense of a doomed species.
The Sultan seemed to lean into them for a moment, and an evil grin worked its way down his snout.
Or do, if you please. That would be better sport for me and my men.
The Admiral did not visibly react at all.
Cut your FTL now, Tilian. Humanity has made its position on this matter clear. If you do not comply, I will take your continued presence, coupled with your threats, as an act of aggression and act accordingly.
The Sultan's grin got larger, and his eyes narrowed. His lips seemed to caress his single-word reply.
Good.